y'all. Welcome to Mental Health Matters. And this week we are doing a topic that's been very tough on everyone, but it's very needed. And it's about childhood trauma. And today, our very own and my mama bear, Miss Marilyn, and I'm going to welcome her to the stage. How are you?
Hi, sweetheart. Good to see you. Hi,
Hi, good to see
everybody.
you.
Thank you for
So,
having me.
thank you for coming.
Of
Thank you for coming
course.
on. Uh, we've had a week full of emotions, I think.
I know. I had to get out new box tissues because I listened to Hockey Town John this morning and oh my goodness.
I know.
Y'all are so brave. It's just amazing. And thank you so much for doing this channel. And Kathy Ann and Dr. Gretchen, you're all
Yeah,
amazing, amazing ladies. It's
yeah.
definitely needed.
And Gretchen will be. She'll be in and out. So she's going to be able to come in and out. Hopefully, she's working on it. She had a busy day with patients.
That's okay.
But Kelly, hello, Kelly. How
Hi,
are
Kelly.
you?
Hi, sweetie. Hey, Miss Sunrise Dawn and everybody. Hockey
Yes,
Town John. Oh, John's here. Hockey Town John. Of course, from a
yes.
poet.
Brian, yes. Let's see. We got Kathy is, and then we've got literally no one. George is in the
Georgie,
chat. Yes,
thank you for
Georgie.
being
Hey,
here.
Ari. Hi, how are you doing? How are you feeling, honey?
Hi,
Um,
Aria.
yeah, I worked all night, so yeah, you might have to help her
Queen
get the
Suki
Bluetooth.
Meow.
Yes,
I
I don't
love
want to
it.
miss any. I know there's Aria. She's been going through it, and hope she's getting better. Hey, Brian, how are you? Oh, thank you, Miss Sunrise Dawn, um, for stepping in today. And
She's
I'm
awesome.
she is just yes she is. And Kathy and Hockey Town John, all our mods, they're great.
Aria says,
Oh,
Keela, your
thank
hair.
you.
It does. It's gorgeous. I love it.
Okay, well that was because I worked all night and it was straight. And I just ran in there and did that little automatic curler.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I love it.
But yeah. So I I'm gonna try. Oh, John, thank you. You're so sweet. Not so much. Thank you,
Movie
DJ
star. That's right.
Nico. Yeah, I will
Yes, you
get
are.
to that. So what I wanted to do, Marilyn, if it was okay with you, because I don't like to do the question. I mean, sometimes we have questions, if it's a different topic. This is not a topic for. I feel like for me to have to interrupt and just ask a question. It's a fluid. It's your story. It's you. It's you. And I don't feel comfortable, just like I told the rest of them, I don't feel comfortable interrupting someone's story. It's not my story, it's your story. And I think, oh, thank you, Miss Sunrise Dawn. Aria, let's see. Oh, it's a little quiet. Okay, I'll turn it up. Hang on. How about this, John? Is that a little bit better? I don't want to blow everybody's ears out.
Is mine too loud? I can move
I
it down
think
a little bit.
mine's slow because I had it way down here. Let's see, John. Yep. Okay, that's
How's
better.
it sound?
All right.
Okay.
See, yeah,
Good.
good. Okay. So I don't want to interrupt the fluids. When someone's telling their story, I just don't feel like, unless I have a question or unless, you know, we
Okay.
pause.
Yeah. If you want me to
Fluffer,
clarify anything.
hey, Fluffer, how are you?
Hi, Fluffer Squirrel.
Hey.
Great to see you.
I
So
think
glad you're
we've
here.
been hanging out since all night last night while I was at work. We were different from,
Oh,
but
I love
eh,
that. Hey, Nico.
yes,
DJ Nico's
no,
here.
yes, everybody. I'm so happy. I am so happy. And
Goodness.
yep, you have a lot of friends drop in, I think so. So be prepared.
Aw.
But anyway, so yeah, I just gonna let I would let I know people are coming in, they're still coming in, but I wanted to let you know that I don't want to interrupt you with your story unless, like I said, we want to but you can when you get ready for me to say something or if I have a question, I'll let you know. I just
Okay.
want to be respectful of you.
It's
So,
okay.
whenever you are ready, we are talking
Okay.
about childhood trauma. And yes,
Yeah.
everybody get your tissues because this was going to be one. You're going to need it.
Yeah. Okay. So my my birth mother, um, when she was 40 years old, she had at the time she had 6 of her own children who um, were born after she had adopted little girl. Um, I think she was when I was born. She was already older out of the house, and my siblings were all belonged to my mother's husband, or so it's said. We're not sure, but I had 7 older brothers and sisters. My mother, who again, like I said, she was 40 when I was born. She had an affair with a younger man. He was 25, and that's where I came from. Now, this was back in 1970 when that was not socially acceptable, especially since, my mother was fairly active in the community. I don't know if they have anything like community action where you are, but it's like um, it's a community activist type organization
Mhm.
that helps people that are underprivileged. And my mother also did a lot of charity work for um, mentally you know, men, I think they call it mentally disabled back then. I'm not sure. I don't want to say any
That's not good.
derogatory terms.
No,
Yeah, I
that's
don't want to
not
say
good.
any, but she used to go and visit a woman's facility and give them like pretty things like jewelry and perfume and nice clothes and dresses and things like that. So I think maybe that's where I get it from. Like I just
That
love to,
means the world to that means the world to
yeah.
people.
And didn't find that out about my mother until recently. But she did make some choices that were not probably so healthy. And she packed us all up. We actually I was born near Boston, and she had lived in Western Mass her whole life pretty much. She was actually born here in Vermont in the town that I live in now and then moved right over the border. So she moved the whole family to Haverhill, Mass. And I think my earliest memory, and I shared this with Doug Scott Kramer on Days But Not Confused.
Yeah.
I had just a little bit of a side thing here. I've had quite a bit of therapy and counseling in my life, but I don't really ever remember talking to a counselor about my earliest memory, which was my mom crying on the phone. And I just remember her saying that my brother Buddy um, was went to heaven or was no longer with us. And I just remember her so distraught. And, I found out as I got older that he had taken his own life. And I found it out probably too young to really process that. And it was always like a very traumatic, scary thing. But I realized recently that I'm pretty sure that I had stuffed it and hadn't really dealt with it. Hadn't really grieved him, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Because I thought maybe I didn't have a right to because I was so young and maybe it didn't affect me. But
Childhood trauma. You
something happened
our body
recently.
uses it our body uses it
Yeah.
to protect self-preservation
Yeah. Yeah, you would
until
know
it's
that. Like
ready.
it kind of so many years later, 50 years later, kind of came back and I kind of realized I hadn't ever really dealt with it. I hadn't really grieved him, you know? And I did last week, very much so.
Good. But
Yeah.
that's a good thing. It has to get out.
Yeah, it's strange saying goodbye to someone that you hardly remember. I do remember him, but yeah,
But it's
it's
still
a terrible thing that he took his life because he was in the Navy, and it was believed that he was gay, and that he really just couldn't deal with it, and it's so sad that
it is
he felt
sad.
like that was his only option.
I
You
know.
know,
And that's so sad. I'm so sorry, Marilyn.
yeah. So yeah, well, thank you, and when I told this to Doug. We had the Xenia Marlene's out and everything.
I know I'm getting ready. I see everybody already started over here. I have my. Oh wait, there.
And he said, does the story get any better, any happier? And I was like, not for a little while. I'm so sorry. So sorry.
But that's
But
what we have to go through, and it's our own stories.
yeah, yeah. On a good note, I remember my mother being so loving and always hugging me and just being so affectionate. And I remember I just used to follow her around. I used to follow her into the bathroom and ask questions. And she would very calmly, age appropriately answer my questions, you know. And I had a lot of brothers and sisters I played with, and I loved my sister Jamie, who was 9 when I was 5. So fast forward a couple years, we had moved to another house, and I just remember this house being. We were on the second and third floor. I lived on the second floor, and then my older brothers, were on the third floor, and I just remember sharing room with my older sister, and we always got along. She was my older sister. She was like 16 at the time, and I was only 5. But my sister Jamie was in a different room and things like that. So I just remember the place being very cluttered, like just piles of clothes and boxes. And it could have been because we were moving at the time that I remember this. But I just remember one night waking up and feeling like, I mean, it was in mid-May, but I just remember waking up and just feeling the shock, like cold air, and it was really, really dark, and my face was like buried in this cloth, and I could hear I could hear screaming and behind me, and just like the smoke was so thick. It was just so, just so thick. And I looked up. This lady was like burying me. She wasn't holding me. I had my feet on the ground, but I looked up and I saw her face, and I don't know. She looked like, to me. I think I found out later she's probably Greek, and it's not true, but she looked like um, the Bionic Woman to me.
Oh,
She looked like Jamie Summers, and I think it's because, like, I always pictured that person as being my savior,
right.
you know? So I looked up at her, and there she was, and it wasn't her, but, I just
Oh,
remember her saying, like, "It's okay," and she was hugging me, and then she turned me over to the police because, they had to get me to the hospital because I had, 2nd and 3rd degree burns on my hands and my face, and they didn't put me in the ambulance. I found out many years later because when I talked to the firefighters that they couldn't spare the ambulance, so they put me in the back of a cruiser.
yeah.
So I thought I was being arrested. So I just remember really, I mean, I was only 5, but you see, like, I can't remember what the cop shows were back then, but I thought I was in trouble, you know. So they put me in the back of a cruiser and brought me to the hospital, and I just remember them cutting my pajamas off my body because my skin was like it was like burnt chicken, you know.
Yeah.
So they had to very carefully peel it off. I just remember, I had some burns, but those are gone, thank goodness. My whole body wasn't scarred, just my hands and my face. Those scars remained. So wow, so that was a lot. And that's usually where I end off talking about all of my early childhood. My sister Sherry, who just only passed away 5 years ago from lung cancer, she was 16 at the time, and I just remember her coming in and holding me on her lap and telling me one by one each name. Um, Mom, Mommy went to heaven. Jamie went to heaven.
Oh, wow.
Twinkie went to heaven, and she just listed everybody. Michael. and those were my three siblings, and my cousin Ray, and Donna, who was visiting. She was a friend that was staying with my sister Jamie. And had it been any other night, it would have been me and Sherry because they were in our room
Wow.
when it happened. And um, I found out later that it was my aunt that deliberately set the fire.
Oh,
And if
really?
you watch the, yes, it was some kind of stupid plan that went completely wrong. And she never really served any time, or, and she killed her own son. And I know she didn't mean to, but it happened, you know? As far as I know, she only spent 6 months in a facility, in like a mental health facility. And she wanted to see me later on in life. And I almost felt guilty because there were so many instances in my life where I felt like these people that had wronged me wanted me to be the adult, even though they were, you know, like my biological father came back into my life after I was adopted and already pretty much an adult, and he wanted to have a relationship, and he was still very much, an alcoholic and immature. So I don't know if you've had that situation as well, as like when the role reversal, you
A
know.
lot.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Aunt
Yeah.
Shirley wanted me to validate her feelings, and even then,
Yeah.
as a young child, I couldn't do it.
No, because that's not for you to have to do. You don't carry that.
Right. It's like I felt like she wanted, even as little as I was maybe 11, 12 years old, but I kind of knew that she
You
wanted me
knew.
to let her off the hook, and I wasn't going to. And
Yeah,
maybe
no,
that's very bitter and unforgiving of me, but I lost my mother and my family.
that's right.
So there's a
No, that
part of my life. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, you have a right to be angry, you had a right, and you do not have to, you don't owe them, you don't have to go absolve their feelings or whatever they are having, their guilt, whatever you wanna call it, that's not up to you. That's not for you
Right.
to bear and carry, you do not have to do that.
Yeah, I
No matter
think
how they
I
make you feel,
appreciate you
you don't
saying
have to do
that,
that.
because I'm sure I'm not the only one, and even people in the chat may have a similar thing where you were wronged as a child, and then the adult wants you to kind of like be the adult
Oh,
in the
yeah,
relationship and be the
especially
bigger person.
yeah, yeah, especially the one that, yeah, what you just said, the one that is doing it or has messed up wants the child to validate. Well, I'm sorry, that's not our place to have to do that, and that's not
Yeah,
something we have to carry.
yeah,
We
yeah.
have
I think
enough
there's
to carry.
one thing of, if they're really sorry, you can forgive them, but not to, yeah, not to ease their conscience because what they did was wrong. And if they're trying to make excuses, that's not okay.
No, it's not.
But yeah.
Mm-mm.
So when I was still in the hospital, I actually was in the hospital a lot longer than I needed to be, and it even says in the one of the newspaper articles that Marilyn, and my other last name, my birth name,
Right, right.
which was not my father's name. It was my mother's husband, who I'd never met. And I was trying to explain that to Doug, and poor Doug, he was so confused.
I know. He would have been really confused if I'd have got on there and tried to explain how my last name came about. Poor thing.
Right. Yeah, well, it's messy. It's like, welcome to America.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say.
like, you two get out. You two go.
I feel like I need to like draw like a diagram of all this stuff. It's just so crazy. But it was very complicated because my my sister was, I think maybe she was 17. No, she's almost 17. And then I had an older brother that survived the fire, and he was 18. And so they didn't have, or maybe they were 16, 17, something like that. But they didn't have anywhere to go. So they just kind of like ran away, and they didn't go into foster care. And I didn't go into foster care either. I ended up living with, first of all, I don't know who had custody of me at all, because
Mhm.
my real father became a raging alcoholic, or was one. He couldn't take care of me, and he wasn't on my birth certificate, so he really had no legal rights to me.
Mhm.
And it's good that he didn't, because he didn't have a home to go to. And my adopted sister, I'll say her name, she's been dead for a long time, Rosemarie. Um, I went to live with her, but I don't ever remember her talking to me, looking at me, doing anything for me. It was all her gross boyfriend, and he was a POS.
Yeah.
And I never really talk about him,
How
because
old were
it's
you then?
just. So I was 5.5
7.5?
when I went
Okay,
to live
so
with them.
okay.
I had just gotten out of the hospital, and I lived with them for about a year and a half, and it was horrendous. Um, I know now, looking back, that I was being groomed,
Right?
and the mind games and the exposure and just the fucked up stuff that he would do to me. And then it came to a head when I realized that he was, you know, trying to do something to me that I was confused. I didn't like, I just told him to stop. I wanted him away. I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, get it. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to look at you. And it was so scary, but it happened over a period of time. And I finally told him that I was going to tell somebody. And then he stopped. And my punishment was, I remember that summer, I had to spend the entire summer in the backyard. And I was always alone. Like, I don't know where Rosemary was. Found out later that she was on really heavy drugs and was always pretty much out of it. And she never, like, even talked to me. Um,
Mhm.
I just remember just either being in my room or the backyard all the time, just being alone. And I remember I used to sit in the backyard, and there was this older couple that was over the fence, and they used to ask me if I was okay. There's this old Italian couple, and I used to talk to them sometimes. And I would sit there and pick apart flowers and plants. And I remember, like, milkweed. You ever do that when you pick apart
Yeah.
milkweed? And the dandelions, when they grow and they turn into what, the seed or whatever, you just blow them. Like, I used to do that all the time, just like being in my own thoughts
Making a
and
wish.
wondering.
I would make a wish.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Make a
I was
wish
just always
and
alone,
yeah.
and I just remember, like, looking at bugs and just being very lonely, but kind of like making up characters in my mind, you know? And the only bright spot I had at that point was, I think once a week or every other week, I had someone named Christine that would come and take me. She was a from part of the Big Brother Big Sister Association,
Oh,
and she was my big sister. And she came and took me out, and we did a lot of things together, and I just loved her.
did
And
you ever tell her what happened or what was going on?
um, she knows now, but
Oh, really?
she got completely removed from my life at one point and could never find me again until I was like 40. And she wanted to adopt me, and I didn't know that. I never knew that.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's because the adults in my life were jealous of her, and plus they just lost track of me because, again, nobody really had custody of me. So my sister Sherry came of age around that time, that I just couldn't, like, I
Mhm.
was a mess. And I was just, I was wetting the bed. I was ripping out my hair. I was
Well,
acting out in school. I had gone through like three different second grade class cities. We kept moving. And I went to live with my sister, but my sister was homeless too. So I couch hopped at friends and boyfriends, and we just, whatever. There were times when I don't even think she was there. I was with some stranger. And it was really scary because I suffered a lot of abuse and neglect at that time. And I didn't have anybody really in my life, you know? Um, but
as
then,
a child, that's to the extreme traumatic. not
Yeah, I
having
never really thought of it
slaves.
that way because I wasn't really allowed to
You're in survival
ponder.
mode.
Yeah, yeah. It was like, plus it was like, oh, just suck it up. Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
It's like, and I didn't know anything else, like you think it's normal until you
Right?
have something to compare it to, you know? And this was even before
Absolutely.
the cult, but it is there's a lot of similarities to it, because you're being conditioned that this abuse is
That's the way life is.
norm, the way life is, right? Right. And there was a time in this whole, I call it my wolf child years. So I was pretty much homeless, couch hopping from, pillar to post, as they say, different relatives and whatever, and friends of relatives and all that. And finally, my sister found my father, my biological father. And again, I don't know if he had custody of me at all because he wasn't my real father. This guy Herman, that was my mother's husband, I'd never met him. So I went to live with Bob, was my biological father. He had gotten married, which is really interesting, to a woman that was much older than him. I guess he liked older women, you know. Um, and she tried to be kind, but she was very well, my father abused her terribly, like physically. And she was just trying to survive herself. And I think that she just um shut down, you know.
Right.
And my father, Bob, was very, very violent. And I remember more than once having to go to school and lie about, oh, I haven't talked about this. um about when had a black eye or a bruise on my cheek, and I had to lie about it. And I really didn't have any friends because I moved around so much, and um, I was bullied because I was poor. I was very, very poor. I just remember not even having like socks, like matching socks or underwear or anything, And I used to wear this I had this really weird polyester dress.
Mhm.
It was blue and it had like lace on it, and it was like one of the only things I had to wear, and it was like some really weird like party dress that you would not is not appropriate to wear to school. Like a full length weird polyester light blue dress with like this big collar of lace. So weird.
Hey.
I remember that was one of the only things I had to wear,
So did you
very
stay in
weird.
this did you jump around schools, or did you stay in the same school district, or
No, I went from okay, so after the fire, I think I did have the same first grade. Well, no, two first grades, three second grades, all in different cities. So when I moved from in second grade, when I moved from Haverhill, where I was born, back to Western Massachusetts, and then bounced around many different homes. But there were times when I didn't go to school because I wasn't registered, you know. Um, and it was always kids would be really mean. They'd say like, "What happened to your hands? What happened to your face? You look, I wow, 1 second. Just had to have some tea.
yes, Mandy. Absolutely. Yeah. We'll just do a Xenu and Marlene on that one, everybody.
Okay, Mandy, am I out to hear? Do you want me to put the microphone closer?
She's probably me. I didn't
Oh,
turn it.
okay.
I didn't turn it
Then
up.
you turn it up.
Yep.
I have a big
There we
mouth,
go.
so sure, I'm probably loud.
Oh, I know what I did. Duh.
So yeah, the kids used to call me hamburger hands, and they my hands did look like they looked
Oh
like
God.
hamburger. They really did look like hamburger. So I mean, I can laugh about it now.
Yeah, yeah, but kids are so
Yeah. And
kids
I was
can be
supposed to go to the
so
Shriner.
mean.
I was supposed to the Shriner Hospital um said that they would, you know, um pay for, because I was definitely eligible for charity, but I didn't have an adult in my life that like could do what needed to be done to get me the skin grafts on my hands and my face. Well, my face, it was, I was so fortunate. You can still see my scars, but they're not as bad. But my hands were really bad. So yeah, I never got them fixed, but now, um, when I got old enough to be able to maybe get it done, I decided that, your scars are part of who you are, right? So it's like,
Yes.
I look at those scars and I think, I'm just lucky to be here, you know? It's like
Where
reminder that,
yeah.
there were 12 people in that house and 6 passed away and 6 lived, and I was one of the lucky ones that lived, you know?
You were
So,
here for a reason.
thank you. I think everybody is. Definitely you, Keela. You've been such a good friend. Thank you so
No,
much for
and
having me
you,
here.
oh, no, thank you for coming on. I mean, this is hard for you, and I appreciate you trusting me enough to come in.
Yeah, I feel very comfortable with you. I always have. Um, yeah, so I remember there was like a really huge shakeup in our or whatever you want to call it, a family. I was living at the time, was living with my biological father, and um his marriage got fallen apart. I think he was probably being investigated because finally, I don't know why, maybe because I moved around so much, DCF or whatever they call it back. I think they called
Yeah.
it DSS back then. Never asked. None of the school officials never
That's
asked.
wild to me that no one ever asked. Like,
No,
nobody ever worried about where you were? That no
I
teacher
don't
but
know. I
if
mean,
you jump schools,
I got registered in schools, but I don't know
that's
how it ever, I don't know, very
you
weird.
jump schools, you jump schools, you jump schools, that you're not gonna have a teacher that has taken notice that you're not there.
Yeah.
That's also a grooming technique.
Yeah, I mean, many cults do that. Like here in Vermont, there was a big raid years ago on it was what do they call it, the Northeast Kingdom or something in Vermont, and there were hundreds and hundreds of children that some of them didn't even have birth certificates or social security numbers. They didn't know who the parents were, and they let them go after seizing them for abuse. They were like, "Well, we we can't.
I
They're not
know.
registered," so they just let them go. And I'm like, "Well, wouldn't you want to make sure you know who their
I
parents are?"
right,
You know?
find out where they're gonna go.
Yeah,
Child
very weird.
trafficking is a very real thing.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought of myself as being that way. And it probably isn't, wouldn't you consider it that, but I always think of like, I just fell through the cracks, you know? I was just like, not really wanted. Just like, like, oh, who's gonna take her now? Like a hot potato.
Marilyn, I don't understand, and I don't understand how a crack can be that wide in our society that our children just can fall through. That's something that gets to me. No, no child should be left behind.
Yeah. Um, there's just so many, and I think back in the 70s, it was, they didn't have the
No,
um, regulations in place that they do now. Like when I
right.
finally I was placed in foster care. Um, I was placed in a family with 10 kids, 9 other children. 3 were my foster parents or eventually adopted parents,
Mhm.
biological children, 3 of them, and then the rest all foster kids. And excuse me, then they adopted myself and 2 boys that were already in the home. And back then, like, we were just kind of lumped in, we all piled in the van and went to church. Like nowadays, like there was no seat belts or even there weren't even any seats to have seat belts.
Right.
And, there were older kids. Like nowadays, you could not have that many kids. Hey, Gretchen, so glad
I
you're here.
I'm
Glad you're
I
here.
Marilyn, I know you're in the middle of telling us about your story, but I just wanted to come in for support. And you've been so supportive of us and of, I know I've come and visited you over there in your channel. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
come in and be here because Keela and I, started this up, and I'm so happy to have you, you know, speak your truth today.
Thank you. And it's
Yeah.
wonderful what you're both doing. I think it's really, really needed. And I appreciate that because I feel like, we're all just kind of processing and healing right before each other's eyes, even on screen. And I don't underestimate the value and the power of these parasocial relationships because they are relationships. And I always was hard pressed to find anybody that I felt really understood what I went through. And I feel like you do. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Really.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way. And no matter how many times that you tell your truth and your story, it touches and it and helps. If it For me, if it helps one person, I'll
Right.
tell it again and again and again
Mhm.
because that's what we're here for. It's
Yeah.
just, you know, be kind and help others. But
Absolutely. I feel the same way. And I feel like this whole community, social experiment, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
again, I can't say it enough. There's so many of us that can relate on so many different levels. And it's not just about, for me, it's not just about cult recovery. It's about recovering from trauma, from
right.
coercive control, from anything that keeps you, holds you back from your, your best self. So still learning, you know.
I think that's
Oh, anyways.
yeah. But anyway, go ahead. We'll have to,
Okay, where are we at? The foster home, right?
yes. You said there was 10 there?
Yeah, there's 9 other kids. I was see, there were all older boys, and then the 3 youngest were girls, myself, and then 2 younger girls. And the 2 baby girls they were like 2 and 4, I think, and I was almost 9, 8 and a half. And they were adorable, loved them. And then there was another boy that was 9 months older than me, and he and the 2 baby girls, they were the biological children. Um, that was very obvious by how they were treated. I mean, I
Oh,
was there from age 9 to 16, and it was very obvious. I I really envied the girls because my foster mom was very affectionate to them. And granted, I'm too big to be. I'm not a lap dog anymore. I'm big, right? I was a skinny kid, but I wasn't like a baby. It wasn't like a 2 and a 4-year-old. So it's not like I could cuddle on her lap. But I missed that with my own mom. You know what I mean? So like I longed to have a mom. And I don't know if this makes any sense to you, um, either of you, but like biologically, I just wanted somebody to look at and be like, I came from that uterus. I came from that body. You know what I mean? Because I just felt like I was lost. Like I never felt like I belonged anywhere because I didn't know where I came from, you know?
Mm.
And it seems really strange, but yeah, I just wanted to feel like I belonged. And of course I keep skipping back and forth, but
that's
I
okay.
compare it to how I am, how I am
No,
today.
tell it as it's your
I felt
story.
like yeah, I feel like as I got older and had my own kids, it was like the first time since I was 5 years old that I ever felt like I come home, like I belonged somewhere. And maybe because I could look at them and say, those are my people, you
Right.
know? So that's kind of how I felt about that. Like just always lost and always longing for just to belong. And that could be why I ended up in a cult because they're very love bomby. They act like, you know, we love you.
Yeah.
We're your family and we'll show you the way and we'll, keep you
And
safe and isolated and brainwashed and tortured. They don't tell you that.
no, of course not.
Yeah.
Well, just as you're talking, I'm thinking that sense of belonging, like you said, is so strong. And the cult that you were in, it's like they take advantage of that. They bring you in and under the guise of protection, um, like you said, belonging, like this, that closeness, that connection, through a common, whatever that common cult goal is.
Right.
And that can be very attractive, no matter what age. I mean, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and being 8 years old, I guess, is the when you look at most like religions and even like Scientology, to take it to the extreme, I'm not picking on any religions, but around 8 years old is usually the time when they start to really like, teach you, indoctrinate you, whatever you want to call it. And that's when I ended up, going to church 3 times a week, and we had to pray at home, and my mother was always, spouting scriptures and being super strict. So, like I had shared with Doug and with Kelly Copter, that I was, you know, always living in fear because, there was always this fear of going to hell, fear of the rapture, fear of not measuring up. And then, not only do you feel like you don't belong, but you don't feel like you're ever good enough, like you ever can meet the standards. And I wanted to love God, but I couldn't make myself believe, and I couldn't make myself do it. But I pretended. I pretended to speak in tongues. I pretended to, you know, go along with it. And yeah, I was mostly governed by fear. And then when I ran away when I was 16, um, I came back with so much guilt because I just wanted to live. I went to a foster home, a secular foster home, for a year, and it was my senior year. And I just wanted to go to the prom. I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to be, quote, normal. I didn't want to be in this religious bubble anymore and not be able to, listen to music and watch movies and things like that, because it was very, very strict in the cult. I'm sorry, in the foster home and then the cult, but the foster home was very, very strict. It was culty. I never really think of it that way, but that church was really groomed me for the commune type cult. But I had those years where I just went and sowed my oats. And when I was in the foster home, I was thinking about this today, that I did have my first taste of therapy and counseling. It was the first time I had ever been to anyone. And, in the foster home, I really could have used that. I really needed it. I came in wetting the bed, having night terrors, totally a
Right.
mess, physically, broken. And they didn't believe in that. They didn't believe in counseling or mental health. Now, I think DCF would step in and say, number one, they wouldn't have thrown me into a home with 9 other kids and with a lot of stuff going on that shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But by then, I knew I did not want to be, SA'd again. So I made sure that didn't
Right.
happen. I was old enough to fight back, but um, I yeah, so when I got older and um, ended up again not having anywhere to go because I still was struggling to make it in the world, and making minimum wage, not having any education, not really having any support system, my family offered to have me back home, and that's when I joined the cult. And
Wow.
I've talked a lot about that, but yeah, I was 20 when I joined the cult.
Go ahead, Kayla, you want to say something?
No, I'm waiting on
Oh,
you.
okay.
I'm just thinking with my mouth.
No, and as being on this side of things, being in mental health the last 20 some years, being a therapist or being in a counseling or crisis counselor role in my earlier years too, I just don't understand the idea that, like, I understand why cults want to keep things, isolated for control and coercion, of course. But why sometimes religions, even Orthodox religions, don't incorporate secular counseling? Because I've actually seen more recently some of the mega churches, some of the pastors at mega churches, they're really renowned. They're using I like, because I'm really interested in like religion and kind of, and sometimes and people will say things, or I'll hear it and I'll be like, that's straight out of like counseling. You know, like
Right.
there's concepts. It's not like
Yeah.
this is black box that no one knows about.
Right.
It's like boundaries, you know. I mean, I'm sure in lots of scripture and other areas they talk about now what boundaries look like, or self-love, or treating your neighbor, you know. Like these concepts, there's so much overlap, and yet so many, I shouldn't say so many, but it just kind of, if it's not necessarily like you were in the cult, I don't understand that separation. Like they can't coexist together, I guess.
Right. Well, my church wasn't like your average like mainstream church.
Right.
It was Pentecostal, very mystical, very faith-based, like to the extreme where God will take care of everything.
Mhm.
Like it was more um you're you have to decrease so God will increase. So it's not like you can really look to the world, the way the world works. It was they had their own system. And there were things that, yeah, they took from the world or the Bible that work. And um in my sphere was never really about self-love, it was more about self-sacrifice.
Mhm.
So you weren't really allowed to have any problems. And if you did, it was more like you're either in sin or there were Christian counselors, but they always tried to separate the quote faith with the secular world. So it was more like, yeah, Marilyn needs healing, but God will take care of it. So I don't ever remember sitting in front of a counselor, even a Christian counselor, and having any kind of yeah, because you're just supposed to move on. You're supposed to just let God take care of it, heal you. Yeah. But again, to what
Yeah.
we were saying about seeing some of the concepts, like even in Scientology, you see some of the things that they use in, well, they misuse it, but that they use in regular counseling. I mean, a lot of things are either
Yeah.
stolen or repurposed and relabeled. You know,
Mm.
like what's the difference between someone who says they're a psychic, which is evil and wrong, and the person that says they're a prophetess, which is the same? They do the same thing.
Mm.
They tell you about them yourself, and they tell you about your future, and they tell
Right.
you, one of them tells you, you know, your uh sign or whatever, and the other one tells you what God um told them about you. It's the same thing, but they just label it differently, you
I
know?
think that
Yeah.
kind of goes for a lot of things like that.
Mhm.
It's basically the same thing inside you, it's just wrapped up different and served different
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
Well, I think if we like, just like we've talked about, I mean, the idea that um, when people are getting out of a very coercive, high demand or cult group, there's a group think, and if you don't participate in that group think, then either there's some pretty terrible consequences, or you're totally shunned. And so you're kind of, that's part of it. And so, you know, getting out of that and having that mindset that like it's okay to disagree, it's okay to speak your mind, it's okay to have difference of opinion, and you know, that ability to speak today, like speaking your truth, but also not being silenced anymore. If you need to say something, saying it. I know, Marilyn, you've been a big proponent of this. It's like, listen, I may not agree with you, but if I see something, I'm going to say something. And that's something I really appreciate about you and what you do, you
Well,
know.
thank you, because
Me
not
too.
everybody does.
I do too. Well,
Well, then they don't have
I
to
do.
watch your channel, right?
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, and believe me, I know I'm not always right, but I think that that's one of the things that I did it I to be true to myself. It's funny, I have this mug that says be true to yourself. Um
Mhm.
I was stuffed down in silence for so many years, and I wasn't able to even advocate for my own children, you know? So I guess it's a passion inside of me. Like I want to be the person that I needed when I was
Yeah.
down and out, you know what I mean? So sometimes that does put a target on my back because I point things out that nobody wants to not nobody, but you know, some people don't want me to say, and I say it, and it is what it is. And sometimes it's hard to you know, to take the hits of people not agreeing with you, but I guess I'm to the point where I need to just be true to myself, and say what I feel is right.
Yeah. And where I get from that, Marilyn, and what I get from you, in our friendship is that we don't have to play those games, those childish games. We've been through enough our entire life. It's time that we can just be us. We can find
Yeah.
who we really truly are, and
Yeah.
we can live the rest of our best life. And we don't have to listen to everyone, all the noise, the fluff. It can go away. We don't need that.
Right.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
like how you said
cho-
that. Like, no more games. We're not playing
yeah,
games, right? Not trying to
chosen
appease
family.
people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, chosen family. If you're not, if you don't want to be part of my chosen family, that's fine. I accept that. Just let me live my life
Hmm.
because you've grown up not knowing who you are. Now it's time you can do that,
Yeah.
and you got a lot of people that love you and support you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you do. I see a lot
Thank
of
you.
love coming out in the chat. Um,
I do too.
Marilyn,
Thank
I
you.
excuse me for doing this, but I got to ask you a really therapist-y type question.
Okay.
Okay. I know that we're not doing therapy here, but
No.
but I want to ask you a therapist-y type question.
Okay. Go for it.
You said a lot about that 8-year-old self of yours that was really wanting that belonging, that was seeking that and didn't have it at the time and wanted to point to someone and say, this is what would you tell now, knowing what you know and having the wisdom you do? What would you tell your 8-year-old self?
Mm. Um, I guess I would say, oh my God. Second.
Take your time.
Um, I guess I would say what I said to Helicopter when she asked me how I can be today, how I can basically hold it together, I guess, or being how I am now. And she's like, where does that come from? Where does that strength come from? And I said, I think it was always there. I think it's inside of everyone. And that's what I say to the second gens a lot is like, you know,
Yeah.
you can mother yourself. So I guess I would say to that 8-year-old, it's okay. Like, you have everything you need inside of you. And there's always people that will be there when you need them. Like I said, I just want to pay it forward to the guardian angels and the good Samaritans and the people that helped me along the way, because I couldn't have done it on my own. But I think I had that thing inside of me. It's okay to love yourself, and it's okay to advocate for yourself, and it's okay to mother yourself,
Yeah.
to be kind to yourself. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I guess that's what comes to mind when you ask me that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, that's just a beautiful thing, like to know that you have that within you and to tell that to your younger self would be, yeah, I don't know. I'm at a loss, Keela,
Yeah.
Marilyn.
I always want to give people like support and hope, and in any way that I can help by sharing my own story and my own journey, that if they can have the slightest takeaway, just even one person, like you said, Keela.
Yeah.
And I look at you and I just, oh my God, like we have so much in common,
I know.
And I think that's one thing that's been just amazing about this whole community is that we can really understand. And if we can't understand, we can at least accept and empathize and
That's right.
and just be there. And if you don't like me, that's okay too. You don't have to watch. Like you
Don't
said,
have to
Gretchen.
watch.
Yeah. So I just want to, I don't know if we're getting to questions, but a comment here that Sophia just put up that I really need to highlight, which is
Oh, go ahead.
it says 8-year-old Marilyn did good and was fierce. She had to grow into her own. And well stated,
Yeah.
really.
Thank you, Sophia. I love you.
Yeah.
She's just an amazing person. I would love to meet you sometime. I want to go to Germany and meet her.
I know she is really amazing. Okay, let's go to I'll have to go through these maybe pretty quick so I can be mindful of everyone's time. I didn't realize.
Sorry, I'm kind of a mess.
I
And
know.
my scars are showing. You see them.
I think
I feel like that was a Barbara Walters question, so I apologize for that. You know, they have like they always say, you're not going to make me cry, Barbara, and then she asks one little question at the end and they start tearing.
I know.
Anyway.
Oh my God. And it's funny because I'm more used to interviewing other people. I don't get interviewed that much. So
That's true.
yeah.
That's true.
pause for Andrea. Just popping in to send support. I'll be catching
Thank
us
you.
on the replay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um,
Hi,
there
sweetheart.
you go. Look, Marilyn. Wait.
She's such a good friend.
See behind me, Marilyn.
Oh, her book. Love you, Liz. She's
It's
amazing.
always there.
Such a good friend. I mean, the other day I was at my lowest, and I mean, I did express that, and I think I've done 2 lives since I had my little episode last week. And I just the second gens really they really came around me and the whole community, and I just
Because you
I
are
just
this
really appreciate it.
community.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you are.
Oh, we're all part of it, and I guess when one of us is down, the rest of us,
That's right. That's
pick
what
us
we're
up.
here for. Hi, John. We are here for you, Marilyn.
Thank you, John. Thank you,
We're
and
your
thank you
soft
so much
spot
for
to lean.
sharing. I was telling Kayla I was crying in my yogurt this morning, listening to Hockey Town John, and thank you. You're so brave to share, and that gave me the courage to share.
See, John, there you go.
Today I haven't before, so
yes.
Yeah.
And Gretchen can probably wait. She's probably very much more qualified on this aspect, but because my brain isn't going to get any better because of seizures and things like that. But I'm just wondering on the part of trauma, like on our childhood trauma. I know that I've been through EMDR, and sometimes during that, you're supposed to go back to your earliest memory to clear it. And I know that I have found, like as I'm going through it, wait a minute, we found an earlier one, and I remember it, but there's not a lot of memory left there in the trauma. As we get farther from it or further away from it or let it go, I mean, what is that, Gretchen, that we're able to remember and recall some things that?
Sure. I don't know if I can speak to the literature right now, but what I do know from more of a clinical perspective of working with people for many years with trauma is when I talk to people, either they have very like distinctive memories that are like imprinted in their mind, or like what you said, there's either the whole incidents or things have been blocked out, or parts of it have been. So like, let's say there's some abuse that was going on for many years, or like I just don't remember these years, or sometimes whole years if the trauma was going on, the abuse, or I don't remember exactly, it's fuzzy or it's completely like absent. And I think in speaking to other colleagues and other folks, that's our brain's way of protecting us from really traumatic memories, especially if it happens at certain times. Like in the younger years, it's like the brain doesn't even know how to really process all of what's going on, depending on the nature of the trauma. So, and life moves on, for better or worse. So it's like if you talk about kids like you're speaking to, Marilyn, you go to school, you know, there's things that kids are expected to kind of move along with, and so it's sometimes a coping mechanism to kind of block out parts
Yeah,
of trauma.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you
Okay.
don't even realize it's like trauma. You don't even think it's like
Yeah.
wrong, or you don't know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you
You don't
know?
even know.
It's not until years later that sometimes people piece things together and say, I knew something was kind of off, but I didn't realize what was going on until much later.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Life's a journey, Tammy. I love you, Marilyn. I'm
Oh,
proud of you
thank you,
always.
Tammy.
Mhm.
Thank you, Tammy.
Let's see.
This is definitely a safe space. I appreciate
Yes.
it.
Yes. And Brian, at 5 years old, you take stuff really seriously, especially if it's negative.
Yeah.
That is the truth. Isn't that
Yeah.
ever the truth? Let's see.
And I just want to
Oh,
add on to
wait.
what Brian said too is,
Uh-huh.
we talk about developmental age, and kids are having their own set of moral development at certain ages. And so when something corrupt or wrong happens to them, that's hard to integrate. Like, and then if you throw in like a religious,
Yeah.
dogma,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
a religious kind of indoctrination, that's can definitely,
And what
you know,
really sucks is that
skew it.
things that are happening to you, you don't know that they're not supposed to be. If you don't have,
Right.
let's say, you
Right.
don't know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
You have enough comparison. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Right.
yeah. Oh wait, I'm sorry.
Mm.
Lost attorney Tammy. Marilyn, I'm so sorry again and proud of you for sharing your story with others.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you so much.
Hockey Town John.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh,
Right back at you, but we can heal together, right?
Mhm.
yes,
Appreciate you.
absolutely. And Kathy Ann, you were a
Mm.
child. And that's,
Yeah.
we sit here and we say the child, the child. I think that's what we're all in here trying to find, heal, and save in one way or another is the child or the children.
It's true. The inner child.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And Miss Sunrise Dawn, comment, you owe them nothing, Marilyn. Nothing. That's what I'm saying.
Thank
You
you.
do that. It's not on you, Marilyn.
Thank
I
you.
think that's a
Appreciate
pretty
that.
resounding theme in the chat here, isn't it?
It
From
is
Marilyn. Yeah.
because she she does not owe them for their guilt. She does not have to carry their weight, and she does not have to roll reverse and be the parent or be the adult figure. Like Hoggy Town John says right here, it's like they expect us to validate their
Yeah.
feelings.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And bringing the religious aspect into it later on in life. um I always like carried this, not always, but for a while I carried this guilt that this woman who was my aunt, who accidentally but made some really terrible choices and ended up unaliving her own family, her sister, her nieces and nephews,
wow,
and then her own son. And I felt like I couldn't ease her guilt. And like I said, I
that
was
was
only
not your place.
10, 11 years old, and I just knew. I was just like, nope, I don't want to talk to her.
Mhm.
And then later on, I felt a little guilty about it because it's like turn the other cheek, and then I started getting
Mhm.
the religious, thing bombarding at me. And then I was like, now I look at it and I was like, no, I didn't really owe her anything,
No, you didn't.
even though she went to her grave, but she had to live with the consequences of what she did.
I know you want to see this.
Yeah. There's another
Love you,
hat.
Liz. Love
Yep,
you.
she is. And Aria, children should never have to be the adult.
Yeah.
That's,
Right.
that's true. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
The child is the one that's supposed to be grounded to access emotional availability from the parent or caregiver, not the other way around.
Yeah. And you see that even with adult relationships and non relationships, like the cult, with Scientology, there's still parents of the second gens in the cult completely blinded to what, they gave their life to and sacrificed their children for. And
Yeah.
now that it's the the next generation that sees the craziness of it all and is healing and has, their eyes open to it. But unfortunately, the cognitive dissonance and the brainwashing is so strong.
It
Sad.
is. Yeah, it is. DJ Nico. A child is never meant to be the one absolving adults doing wrong or hurting. Each adult has have to own up and take their own part. You owed no one nothing. You are a fighter, Mama Bear.
Thank you, DJ.
And you do fight for your cubs. For sure. Oh, here's
And you all fight for me and each other. I love it. We're here for each other.
Okay, I'm gonna let you take this one, Marilyn. Kathy
We
Ann.
need a Sterling-esque family tree. I don't know if I've seen his family tree.
Mm.
Oh God. Oh,
What? He was losing it.
I am.
Are you talking about Sterling and Jenna and all the?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But okay. Yeah, it's pretty much, it's like that. Yeah. That's true. I have a hard time keeping them straight too.
Hearing him say it just cracks me up. Kathy, that was good.
Oh man.
I just saw Mix Mandy says therapy
Oh.
has helped me uncover missing pieces. That's really important. Thank you for bringing that up, because thinking of what you said, Gretchen,
Yes.
about how like the pieces start to come up,
here we
and
go.
it's like, that was a really good point, because I've found that even like last week, I was like, why am I having this complete and total utter meltdown? And then I thought of my brother and I was like, I don't think I ever grieved him,
Mm.
And I remember when I was in therapy, I've been in therapy several times. Them walking me through, I did have some hypnotherapy, I think it's called, where you it's almost like daydreaming, and it's like almost like guiding your own past. Like you actually uncover pieces of it that you hadn't really thought of, and you have the memory is there, but you don't realize that you had stuffed it, right? And then I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen. And then almost like walking me through it to a different outcome, like, and there were times when I would like kind of visualize being in like in a dark basement, and I would walk out and walk up the stairs, and then the door would be locked, and then I would unlock it and come out and be out in the light, and so I think those types of therapies really, really help me a lot. Just revisiting things, but in a very, guided and safe way. But yeah, it is like little pieces of the puzzle. Even now, that still come up times.
Right. Even what's very helpful is sometimes this is a therapeutic tool people use, therapists, like a timeline. You like draw like literally a line, and you're like putting down events, and it's amazing just visually how that can do exactly what you're saying, Marilyn. It's just like, oh, like in 1985 this happened, and then 1986 that's happened, and 1987 that happened. Oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Like just even looking about the chronology of the events that occur in life and what happens within each one of us. It's like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty enlightening.
Very much.
Absolutely.
Gain a lot of insight that way too. Yeah, very much. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna unstar these because
oh, sorry, I just saw that comment. I was like, it was up, it was top of mind.
Look, it's a complicated family tree. I have to put these up here, y'all. And then there we go. Sterling's family tree is clear as mud. And then Kathy Ann says, She knows what I'm talking about. Branch on limbs off branches.
I know. Goodness.
It cracks it.
I can relate to that completely.
Oh, I like this right here. Sometimes you find the family through life, not always born into one.
Yeah, it's so true.
That
Well
is so
said.
true. That is so true. Thank you, Shelley. That is just so true. Let me see. Let me go back to the start and see if there's any questions. Brian, he said send good vibes,
Thank you, Brian. Good friend.
and then
He's always here
Aria,
for everyone.
yeah. Oh, she tells on, yeah, children should never be put in those situations. Absolutely, but it's so
Yep.
horrible that it happens. Oh, Miss Sunrise Dawn. My baby
Oh.
girl is at that age now. I want to go hug little Marilyn and take her home.
Thank
I
you, Miss
know.
Sunrise. You're such a sweetheart. Just hug that little one.
I
Hmm.
know
You're a good
she's
mom.
so precious.
Oh my God.
Hey,
Hi.
Tampa Bean.
So
Oh,
glad you're here,
okay.
Tampa B. Good to see
Yes,
you.
yes.
Miss you, my friend.
And oh wait, okay. So Miss Sunrise Dawn said, and you just had lost your mother. Absolutely heartbreaking.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a lot at one time. That's a lot of trauma points to deal with at one time, not even knowing that that's really what you're dealing with.
Hmm.
Yeah, I never even thought of myself as a trauma survivor. I mean, it seems kind of silly, doesn't it? But
Hey,
and then
you
someone asked
survive and
me,
you're here.
oh, someone asked me, I've never really been diagnosed with that kind of thing. But as far as complex PTSD goes, I think maybe I do have a little of that because I was talking to my husband. Actually, it's funny because Kelly Copter can tell you this when she came to visit. I have this old shit handle that I use a lot in the car
Mhm.
when Duncan's driving, and it's a little bit over the top. I get really, really like scared,
You're
and
like white
I think,
knuckling.
oh, totally. He took us through this from the airport. This mountain pass called Petersburg Pass. It's scary. I was like, I don't want to go here anymore. Take the other way. But yeah, Kelly's in the back, like, are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah.
How's like
So
driving on the
that
other
could
side of the
be.
road?
That could be. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I said, how's she like riding on the other side of the road? Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Okay.
must be
So
so odd.
John, how you sound, John? We carry our scars both outside and in as a reminder. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Sophia, we wear them proudly as a sign that you got out. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hockey
I'm
Town
just
John.
happy to be here. I'm glad to be here. I'm fortunate. It's a soft spot for us to land. Absolutely. Yeah, this was an
We're doing
amazing
everything
thing.
we can do
We're
for
trying
that.
our best to do that. Yeah. That's what we
Yes.
want to create or have.
Yeah. And I do say that all the time. We're all glow sticks. We can't truly shine until we're broken.
Oh,
That's good.
I love that. Yeah.
I had
Can
a
I use
bag
that
that
one?
made it fit. Absolutely. We're all like glow sticks. Yeah, you can't. We don't shine until we're broken. Yeah.
There we go.
Mhm.
Aria, she said the system is very
System.
broken. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely,
It is.
absolutely. I don't even want to. That'll be a whole different show.
That is. I mean,
I mean,
yeah.
that
I
is
I have
definitely.
my thoughts about yeah, the system.
Yeah.
Anyway, and kids being moved around, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you,
Absolutely.
Marilyn, have some ideas about, definitely your experience, but do you have any interaction now or knowledge of, like, in where you live, the state that you live in, like what the system is like or what kids go through in the
Yeah. So
system?
my adopted sister, one of the biological children of my adopted mom and dad, she's almost 50. She's in her late 40s. She adopted 3 children that she got 3 consecutive years out of the hospital to our biological siblings that were born addicted to substances. The mother
Mhm.
just kept having children and getting them taken away. She has, I think, a total of 6 now, and my sister adopted 2 of the 2 youngest. right out of the hospital. She took them. And
Okay.
the middle child is also a survivor of drug being born on addicted to drugs.
Mm.
And they DCF, or what do they call it now? I think it's DCF, is very hands-on. And my sister has been like, she's wonderful. I mean, these kids are so well taken care of. They have therapies, they have EI, which is early intervention, they have counseling and everything. You know, they make sure that these kids are like, only the two that are blood related could share a room and things like that. And she can only have so many
Mm.
kids and at so many ages. And it's very regulated now. It really,
That's great.
really
I'm
is.
glad to hear
And
that. And for the
yeah, and
protection
you
of the children, obviously. Yeah.
obviously, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's very, and foster parents, and actually my daughter fostered two babies that were kind of distantly related to a foster brother of mine. But my daughter, who was only in her early 20s, had these kids for a whole year, a little older. But the the regulations on the parents and grandparents and blood relatives of these children, way more lenient than a foster parent. They are very strict with foster parents, which I
Mhm.
think is a good thing. You
I
Mhm.
know,
know over here they are. My she's not my stepmom anymore, but she lives in the same town as I do, and I call her my stepmom still to this day. I call her Mama Kathy. Um, and I mean that, and she raised all four of hers, three girls and a boy. She raised me and my other sister, on and off with, and when all the kids are grown, graduated, went to wherever they were going, college, military, everything. She's a paramedic, and her husband Scott, who just passed away, he was on hospice. He was the fire chief, and he had just so many years of it was his lungs. Um, they started being foster parents. Not only were they foster parents for all these years, I have two beautiful baby brother and sister that they adopted straight from
um,
the hospital. Yeah, they got them straight from the NICU when they were able to be released, and yeah, they
Wow.
adopted them. So they're amazing. That's the kind of people you would want the children to be with.
Yeah.
That are
yeah,
loved and wanted.
yeah.
So
That's right.
It's funny. My sister asked me so many times, like, because then she'd look at me, she's like, "Oh, you were a foster kid. What do you think about this?" And when she was adopting them, she'd ask me things, and I said, "Well, I'm, different. Like I can't tell you what all foster kids would think, or what as they get older, would they be like, Mom, I wish you did this." But she asked me about their names, and
Mm.
I said, personally, and I was honest with her. I said, I wish that my name hadn't been changed, my middle name, and definitely not my first name. Um, because as it is, my last name was changed.
Mm.
So having all three of your names or two of your names changed, I think that's really tough. So she totally took my advice. She kept their names. Well, one of them
Mhm.
didn't have a name, so she named them. But the two siblings that were blood related were given names, and she kept their names. And I thought that was, at least for me, I'm not sure, but I feel like identity wise, I think that was at least a very thoughtful thing to do,
Mhm.
to keep
yeah,
their names.
I apologize, y'all, if y'all can hear my dogs. They're in there raising heck about something. I don't
I
know
don't
what.
even hear them.
No, I don't either.
No, they're loud. I can hear them through my earbuds. Oh, okay. So, Terry, love you both. So many Xenu Marlenes.
Ah, thank you.
Mm.
Okay.
Yes, I got tea.
Yes, Xenu Marlene. Same thing,
This is
Marilyn.
a great
I'm gonna see
chat.
Brian. Yeah, I think so. Fear of the Lord was fed to me like cereal for breakfast. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, good way to put
Candy.
it.
Candy's a childhood trauma. Absolutely sucks. I'm not sure if I will ever heal from some of it. I feel you.
Yeah,
All I can do is
I hear you,
I'm not gonna
Candy.
say that it will happen, but I can say that I can just try to be a better person today than I was yesterday, and I'm gonna try to be a better person tomorrow than I am today. And that's all I can
Yeah.
make. That's the
Yeah.
only commitment I will make to myself because about myself.
Mhm.
I'm gonna heal as at I guess when it's time.
Yeah. Just be kind to yourself, and like we talked about earlier, just, think about that inner child, that person, that you were, and what you would say to them now. Yeah. I
Mhm.
love that.
Right.
Can we read this? I can start read some.
Yeah.
Keila.
Yeah.
DJ
Yeah.
Nika.
Um,
One reason the Catholic Church was against Reformation was to keep control over the scriptures. Same goes with counseling and even early medicine. All was a way to make people depend on them.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point.
um, let's see. Oh, Hockey Town John.
Hockey Down John, they all took your voice away, Marilyn, but just look at you now, Mama Bear.
Yeah, we
I
can
feel like
we can
I
find
want
our
to
voice.
I feel like I want to say it in Hockey Town John's voice because he's got quite the
He's got a great
perf-
voice. I
oh my
know. I
gosh.
thought of
We
that.
talked about
Did you finish did you finish watching all of his like the chats literally after like they are Uncle Al? They're after John's voice.
And it was just, I mean, I
He's
said
the
like
Uncle Al of Health Matters.
He
Yeah,
is.
of
right,
mental
right.
health.
It was like, wow, John, your voice has a following. So that's cool.
Definitely. And I was getting on it too.
Like George too, with the British accent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Power
Thank you,
lies to
Power Lies.
paralyze. Speak your truth, Marilyn. It's why we're here for you.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Power. Love you.
Stop.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah. And Kathy Ann.
Kathy Ann, and who our true circle is. Yep. Yeah.
Love you, Kathy Ann.
Amber's Glass, nice to see you. Marilyn, you are loved and you are an excellent mother.
Thank you, Amber's Glass.
That
So
she
sweet.
is.
I try.
Candy's Life. Hi. Thank you for holding this space today for us today, Keila and Gretchen at Mental Health Matters.
Absolutely. Thank you.
What we're here.
Absolutely true.
I don't know when I started that
Hockey
one.
Town John. Oh my God, Marilyn, that means the world to me.
It might have been at the beginning.
I think because I said that, well, I was crying in my yogurt listening to him, but I said that,
Oh yeah.
I was just appreciated how brave, how courageous he was. And it really helped me to be able to, open up about this too. So
Our wise
thank
woman
you.
here. Sophia. Mhm.
Sophia, the brain blocks certain memories until you can deal with them. Happened to me with one particular bad incident. Yeah, that's probably true. I
Mm,
imagine that is the case. Definitely.
Self-preservation.
Our bodies are meant to protect us, and that's what like talk about like physical pain. That's why our
Yeah.
receptors and all that have physical pain, but I don't think emotional pain is that much different than that. I mean, our brains do
It's
lots of
all
different
our
things.
body.
Yep.
That's right. Mhm.
Miss Sunrise Dawn, question, Marilyn, you didn't think you were getting rid of you didn't think you were getting rid of us that easy, did you? Oh,
yeah, I
sorry,
guess
just
I
wanted
can't
to
hide.
respond.
Thank you. Thank you all. Oh, hi,
I was
love it.
reading it
Love
like a
it's just
serious
popping
question.
in.
Yeah,
I
love
was
it.
loving in. Okay, let me get this
Yeah.
hard one.
DJ Nico comment. I can tell how much meeting my real big sister first time yesterday and today again. So many hugs, so much to talk about. You get very tired also. It takes energy, but in a good way. That's
Wow.
Oh,
awesome.
Nico, that is
It's amazing. So happy
congratulations.
That
for
is
you.
great.
Love it. Hi, sweetheart.
I love it.
Oh,
Thank you for being here,
I
everybody.
probably missed a whole bunch of stuff, but I was trying to get the started ones. Yes, love it.
Mhm.
Okay, well,
Wow.
Marilyn, I appreciate you. I
Thank you. This was
appreciate
very
your love.
cathartic.
We try to make these uh, talks a little bit shorter, not go on and on, because I mean, what we talked about this week with childhood trauma and stuff, that's
Yeah.
even just talking about for 30 minutes takes it a lot. you know. So I appreciate you staying in and hanging in there with us, Marilyn.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the safe space. And, it's something as simple as the time when I was in the backyard like, picking apart the milkweed and stuff. I don't think I've ever told anybody that, but I just felt comfortable, sharing that with you all.
And do you know what's so weird? You told me that, and I'm sitting here picturing myself sitting out there picking up and blowing, making wishes. That was
Yeah.
just amazing that you said that because I mean that immediately popped in my head as when I felt alone and I was sitting out there and I would go, just I mean that's chosen family for a reason.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. This has been amazing. Appreciate it.
Okay, well I always get to ask the last question.
Okay.
Anybody out there that finds herself facing the same loneliness, the same not feeling like they belong anywhere, what would you say to them if you could say one thing?
um, I would say just know that you're not alone and um, just take baby steps to reach out. Don't ever suffer alone, and be kind to yourself because you're worth it. That's what I'd say.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfectly said. I want to thank the mods. I mean, y'all did an incredible job today. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
everybody.
for
Thank
everybody
you, the
that came in
mods.
to help.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so much.
you to the second gens over here supporting Mama Bear. Thank you, Love
Love
It.
you.
Thank you, Nico. I mean, everyone that's here. I'm we truly appreciate y'all.
Mhm.
And Marilyn, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much,
and
Marilyn.
Gretchen, thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Of
it.
Gretchen
course.
and
And
Beulah.
we like I said, we never leave. We never leave anyone here after we hit end. It goes we roll over to the Facebook group. We're not gonna have someone come on, tell their story, and then just boom, we're done. No, we roll over to the Facebook group where we continue conversations and peer support. So, but
Okay.
thank you all,
Right.
and
Thank you,
we will
everybody.
see you
Bye.
next time. If I can do this without Kathy.